this is better. Right. Okay. I'd like to talk to you about. Well, first of all, welcome back. I would like to talk to you about how to write a short story. And this is something that a lot of students struggle with since it's a very, very difficult part. It counts for 100 marks on your Leaving Cert exam, and it is the largest chunk with the most marks on both paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, so first of all, to think about it, how is it graded? The first thing you want to know is that short stories are graded in terms of purpose, coherence, language, and mechanics, just like everything else. So a purpose is basically whether you're on topic, off topic. Did you get it right? Are you answering something that I didn't ask you to? Coherence is how detailed are you, your storytelling abilities, the rising action, falling action, the ability to be detailed in the way you elaborate upon your story, right? The events, the storytelling, which is essentially the most important part, and it is interrelated with the purpose. Then you have the coherence. I talked about that. Language comes next, which is how elevated your language is, right? Do you have a high level of English language, your vocab? Is it is Do you have complex words? The way you write, how good are your sentences, your expressions, sayings, quotes? Do you use words like good or bad, or do you use other words like, I don't know, extravagant or God knows what, right? So this is the language part, and finally the mechanics, which goes with the language and is also part of like how good you structure your sentences, the commas and whatever it is. But we don't really care much about the mechanics since it only accounts for 10 out of 100, so 10% of your short story grade. Today I want to talk to you about how to properly address the question of a short story in higher level and ordinary level, doesn't matter, and how do I write a short story that perhaps can fit every single question that I get. This is the hack that I always tell my students to follow, or and to address how to begin one, end one, and what comes in the middle. How do you nail a short story? What is the secret? Right. So the first thing that you would want to know is that writing a short story, what is it? It's a form of an anecdote, which is defined as a small story with a point. Now, a short story could be defined like a slice of life, a slice of life, something that has happened to a certain character. Now, why is it different from a personal essay or a personal narrative? That is because a personal narrative talks about you talk about yourself. Personal essay also talks about yourself. A short story is one where you invent and create a character. Now, how do you start a short story doesn't really matter because there's no certain way that is right, certain way that's wrong. You can write in first person, which means like you can be the character, like I did, I ate, I woke up, I went, I killed, whatever it is. Or you can write in third person. She did, he did, Mark did, I don't know, whatever, right? So, how do I start? It has to be original. You cannot copy an idea from a movie and implement it, especially if that movie happens to be a blockbuster or wherever, like a famous story. Like if you took La Casa de Papel, the very famous series, and try to incorporate it into a short story, you will fail miserably because first of all, that is a series of books, not even a short story. 2, it's impossible due to time management. 3, you're not that good, let's face it. And number 4, it is extremely difficult to write about all these central characters, which brings me to my next topic. Now, how many characters do I have to include? 1 is my advice. In terms of a central character, 1 character is your go-to. Do not write more than 1 character for your short story, no matter what. When I talk about one character, one main essential character, I am talking about um, like the protagonist, right, or the antagonist. Now, essentially, people ask me, how can I write a short story that has only one character and develop the plot in a way that is interesting? Do not write a short story that revolves around major impacts and aspects like kidnapping and killing, or but if you like mystery and horror and whatever, first of all, avoid horror and comedy at all costs. My go-to genre is mystery. That is the best. You can always, improvise and talk about a lot of, you have a lot of material for that. So like, what do you do in this sense? You have to create a character and create a certain story for that character. Now, usually it goes with the exposition phase, the rising action, the climax, falling action, and the resolution. Now, we don't have to follow that. We can start the climax itself. For instance, you're a character, you name them, you give them a personality, and the key phrase is show, do not tell. Do not show me that you are tired. Do not tell me that you're tired, but tell me that you're resting, sitting in the car in the passenger seat, leaning on the window as the um, raindrops form a staccato beat onto the rooftop, and you're slowly dozing off. So this is the way you tell a story. Now here I told you that I'm tired without telling you that I'm tired, or something like that, right? Or you can just say that I hired a crane to keep my eyelids open. Now I did not tell you that my eyes are closing. I didn't say it that way, but I said it this way. This is the language part. So let's just say that I'm creating a character who's walking down the street. How do I create an interesting story with one character? You can create other side characters without giving them a personality or anything. You can be chased by someone, a stalker perhaps, and your entire story could be you walking down an alley and someone is behind you. Now, this is something that is interesting as well, because you can you can kind of make me uh, go through the trauma that your character is going through without without being there. So the more tension and suspense you create naturally in your story, the better your story sounds like, and the more marks you'll get because you make it very interesting. So in this sense, that same character walking in an alley, in a dark alley, being followed by someone has to have a purpose. Why is this person followed? That's a hook. So you're gonna cause me, the reader, to think the entire time, why is this person followed? Then something will happen, and maybe the resolution at the end, you will reveal why this person is being followed. So if you're able to do that, now this doesn't come overnight, obviously. This is why it counts for 100 marks on your ILC. It's just 400 points, 400 marks for your paper 1 and 2 combined. Writing a short story is for 100 words, for 100 marks, right? 1,000 words minimum, 100 marks. How do I ensure that I get a good grade? You have to follow everything that I just told you. Let's take a different scenario, right? Let's assume that you are, I don't know, but obviously it just depends on the question. So let me look at a random question. He says dialogue, mood and atmosphere, importance of characters. Dialogue is very important. You want a short story where the readers feel like they are sitting and listening to a person having a dialogue with someone else, right? Maybe an encounter, maybe a thought in quotation marks. All dialogues go into quotation marks. This is how we know they are. Leave lines between dialogues and conversations in your story so it looks better, and this is the rule, an unwritten rule. Let me see. I want a question on short stories. Write a short story. Here's one top of my head. Write a short story where the central character is faced with an important decision to make. Great. Now, can I fit the story that I just made up about the guy or the girl walking down a dark alley followed? Yes. What is my important decision? Turn around and face them or run away? Or I can have something else. Maybe that important decision is, do I run or do I pretend that they're after me? And that I don't see them being after me. But again, this is shallow because the whole point of the story is that it revolves around an important decision to make, right? Maybe I am captured by these people, but if I'm captured by these people, I have to introduce new characters. It's gonna make it hard for myself. I'm just trying to tell you how me, as a teacher, thinks in terms of writing a short story. So I'm walking down an alley, a dark one. I hear footsteps behind me. I need to create vivid imagery to imagine what happens. This accounts for a chunk of your grade. This accounts for a lot in terms of, getting a good grade. So then you keep on going, and the important decision, I'm trying to think, what could it be? Maybe that character's important decision is whether, now if you go into a fantasy section, whether to swallow this pill that he has that will make him remember something, but it comes with a consequence that perhaps this pill will also cause him to remember things that he or she doesn't want to remember. Now making it a bit more complicated, right? And a bit more as a fantasy genre. Or maybe I get, okay, I'm walking down an alley, then I get stopped by a guy who's wearing a mask that has a large question mark on on it, right? So I'm surprised, and an element of surprise and tension and suspense is there. I'm making this up as we speak, and as I have a conversation with him, he's not responding to me, and I'm talking to him. I'm very confused. I'm asking who this person is and whatever. There's a dialogue in the story. This person tells me that they maybe offer me 2 letters, or 2 papers, or 2 pills, or 2 cards, right? Maybe it's a magician. Maybe it's Halloween event. Let's do that. And okay, great. Maybe it's Halloween, and I'm assuming that this is a trick or treat, a costume, but turns out that person is actually sinister, and my life is in danger. I only get to figure that out later. Now, the point is, do you see how I am thinking from one thing to another to another? This is how you train yourself to be able to write a short story and to actually be good at it, because you want to somehow be able to craft imagination, an idea that will attract a lot of people. Now, no one is like, not everyone's going to like your story, no matter what you do, but the majority who like mystery will probably want to read your story. That's how you score and nail like an 80 or 70 percent, right? So to think about, now, how does the story begin, and what did I mean by creating a story that fits every single question? Now, I didn't mean that you can always use the same exact sentences and for you to memorize it, but create a script, right? Like a script that I just create, like we talked about the guy who walks down in a dark alley, or a girl, and gets faced by someone. Now let me read another question, right? It says, let me see. Maybe write short story questions. Okay. Main character transformed by a daunting challenge for Leaving Cert. The challenge is the person in front of them. I can use that story. The challenge is whether I face them. The challenge is whether to run away or not. The challenge is the trick that he will present to me, right? Those ideas. Ghostly presence plays a significant part. Definitely could use this one. Next one. Write a short story about a reunion. Now this one is hard, but wait, I can use it. Maybe the guy who I just met in Dark Alley, and I'm terrified because mystery, reveals himself throughout the ending, and it turns out to be my long lost brother that I meet, who I thought was dead. But that's a bit cliche, so I want to create a better idea, and that I have to do on the day of the exam when I face the question. But this is the topic. I have the beginning. I can always use the same beginning, and I can write like 300 or 400 words the same way, guaranteeing a chunk of my grade, scoring high, and then changing it up And I'm thinking as I'm writing, how will I change my story to fit the question on the exam that day? So, short story, write a short story about a tattoo for Leaving Cert. Great, maybe the guy that stops me has a tattoo. He's wearing half sleeves, right? Halloween, it's winter. He's not wearing half sleeves. Maybe he's got a tattoo over here, and he's maybe showing me his palms, right? And maybe there's a trick written, maybe there's an enigma written on, tattooed on his hands. You gotta get creative. So I'm thinking of ideas as we speak, right? So it says a short story about a young character eager to leave home. Maybe that incident, maybe on Halloween night, I packed my bags and I left home. And on my way out of the city, I encountered this guy who tried to convince me back home for some reason that I still haven't thought about. But this is basically how you encounter a short story question. This is how you write short stories. So, yeah, as I was saying, it says that a short story springs from your own experience. I disagree with this. I believe that it's better to always craft and create a new, you know, idea, but that requires a lot of skill, practice, and all that. So anyway, it can definitely be told in a flashback, a chronological order. A flashback is basically when you talk about something that happened in the past, takes the reader back to that incident, then back to reality again. It's not really easy to do. The importance of plot and characters. Again, I have to emphasize this: one or two max main characters. I always use one character, full stop, in all my stories, short stories. And when I say short stories, I mean up to like 5K. And you guys are writing around 1.5, 2 at max because of the time limit. It has to include some element of change and some some element of carrying the narrative forward instead of just having a dull, static short story, and that is basically the hook. So I can't encompass every single element of short stories in one video, but please drop down your comments, and if you have certain questions about what what you're stuck with, or if there are specific areas that you want me to address in my next video, I'll be happy to answer them for you. I hope you guys benefited from this video. I hope you learned something new, and see you next time.